Morning, everyone. Here in the House, we continue to focus on the people's priorities, especially when it comes to jobs and the economy. Next week, it will take up reforms to rein in Washington's red tape factory so that small businesses can hire and expand. This comes after the White House actually cut its forecast for growth for this year to 2%. I think that's unacceptable. We need real economic growth. That means real pro-growth policies to get our economy moving again. Also, this month, we'll take up a bill that gives the VA secretary to actually fire an employee over misconduct. To date, only 2 VA officials have been fired for the waiting list scandal that affected more than 110,000 veterans. President Obama promised reform at the VA. It hasn't happened. Promised accountability. It hasn't happened. So we'll continue to press for these reforms, but only the president can change the VA. On Iran, given everything I've seen so far, this is a bad deal. It paves the way for a nuclear Iran, and yesterday the president admitted that it will likely further Iran's support for terror activities throughout the region. It blows my mind that the administration would agree to lift the arms and missile bans and sanctions on a general who supplied militants with weapons to kill Americans. President Obama says it's this deal or war. Well, that's a false choice. The sanctions were working and bringing Iran to its knees. And we're going to continue to review this, but we're going to fight a bad deal that's wrong for our national security and wrong for our country. Also this week, at my request, our committees have begun looking at some of the gruesome practices embraced by Planned Parenthood. I'm also demanding that the president denounce and stop these practices. Now, if you've seen this video, I don't have to tell you how sickening it is. So rest assured, we're going to get to the bottom of it, protect the values that we hold dear. Lastly, let me take a moment to congratulate our friend Dave Espo from the Associated Press on his retirement. He's worked here, well, forever, and certainly the 25 years that I've been here, and I've always respected the way he's done his job, and Dave, we wish you the best in your retirement.
Speaker Boehner, President Obama is visiting a prison today. They had some commutations earlier in the week. Bipartisan bill, Congressman Sensenbrenner and Congressman Scott, about criminal justice reform. Will you allow that to move forward in your House?
Absolutely. I've long believed that there needed to be reform of our criminal justice system. Chairman Goodlatte last year put together a working group that had recommendations, and I support those recommendations, and they're by and large embraced in the bill that Mr. Sensenbrenner has with Mr. Scott, I believe. Yeah, I'd like to see it on the floor.
Mr. Speaker, to that end, what are a couple of specific things that you think are important in criminal justice reform and where you differ in particular with the president's approach?
I don't think I want to get into all the details. Frankly, I'm not the expert on these, but we've got a lot of people in prison, frankly, that really, in my view, really don't need to be there. It's expensive to house sometimes, frankly. Some of these people are in there under what I'll call flimsy reasons. And so I think it's time that we review this process. They have, and I'm looking forward to putting those recommendations on the floor.
Sir, the Pope finished up a trip to Latin America where he spent a lot of time excoriating capitalism. He called the current economic system the dung of the devil. I'm wondering if you imagine that he'll bring that message here when it comes to Congress, and if that puts him at all out of step with sort of the agenda of your conference.
Well, listen, there's one thing we know about this Pope. He's not afraid to take on the status quo, or not afraid to say what he really thinks. And I can tell you this: I'm not about to get myself into an argument with the Pope. All right. So I'm sure the Pope will have things to say that people will find interesting, and I'm looking forward to his visit.
Speaker Boehner, the Planned Parenthood video, as far as the investigations that you're calling for and the hearings that you're calling for as well, what kind kind of accountability could possibly occur if it turns out that Planned Parenthood is selling fetal parts?
Well, I want the committees to do their investigation. I want them to do their hearings, and once they have them, we'll decide what's the proper course of action.
On appropriations, the Democrats in the Senate say they're not going to pass any of those bills until they get some sort of negotiations, like a Ryan Murray kind of budget negotiation. What's the downside of doing that now rather than waiting until there's a logjam?
Well, the House and Senate have passed a budget. So we're been moving appropriation bills in the House according to that budget, and that continues to be the plan.
On Planned Parenthood, Mr. Speaker, do you buy the explanation that transfers of human tissue frequently have gone on for decades, they're nothing unusual, and that they were discussing reimbursement, which is allowable and provided for under the law?
Well,
do you buy that?
And if you saw the video, it certainly didn't strike me that way. I could talk about the video, but I think I'd vomit trying to talk about it. It's disgusting. Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Flores was just next door calling on the Congress to pass a religious freedom bill in wake of the same-sex marriage ruling. Is that a bill that you support, you want to bring on the floor, and what do you say to both members of the say that this may make it difficult to move on from the same-sex marriage issue?
The Supreme Court's decision on marriage raises a lot of other questions. A number of members have concerns about issues that it raises and how they might be addressed, but no decision has been made on how best to address these.
Mr. Speaker, on the Iran deal, one of your Republican colleagues said about the review bill to vote on it that the game is rigged, essentially in enabling the White House to pass the deal. And Nancy Pelosi earlier said she was optimistic the Democrats would help uphold the deal. What are the prospects for trying to block it?
Well, I think every member of Congress is going to have to make a decision for the next 60 days in order to do that. But it's pretty clear to me that a majority of the House and Senate, at a minimum, are opposed to this deal. What those numbers look like post-Labor Day, we'll see. Thanks. Yeah.